Hi everybody, it's Anne Lewis, your independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based on the Sunshine Coast here in Queensland, Australia. Today I'm excited to give you a peek inside my newly cleaned and organised craft room. It's been a journey, let me tell you. I started about 6 months ago, but about 2 weeks ago I bit the bullet and changed everything up so that I could get it to work, because for the first 4 months I just seemed to be going round and round and it became overwhelming. Now, I've been a Stepping Up demonstrator for the last 13 years, but I've been crafting for a lot longer. So my craft room was full to the brim. If you've ever done a big craft room cleanup, you'll know that the two hardest parts are the start and the finish. The start, because it's just so overwhelming. There's stuff everywhere. And if you were like me, you were looking for a, a new system to make it work. I mean, I would do a Facebook Live, all my stuff would be out on the desk, and then I really found it difficult to find a place to put everything away. It was, it was disorganized, and that's so unlike me, and I didn't like it. Now, the other bit was the last bit that I did, because you end up with these little corners of crap that you don't want to throw away, but you've got no place to put it. And do you really need it? So they were the two bits that I struggled with. If you've done a craft room clean out, leave a comment or two as to what you found difficult. If you're watching this live, let me know if you can see and hear me, because always there could be some technical difficulties, and I'd rather know now than later. Yes, you're going to look at my craft room, but I did just want to give you a bit of background so you understand what the difference between your craft room and my craft room may be. But the principles are the same. And I think it's the principles that are really important. Now, my space might look a little different than yours because I run Stampin' Up. Well, I use this space probably for a few different purposes. I use it for creating, crafting, filming, for storing products, and for running classes, and probably a whole lot more, as you'll discover as we do a walkthrough. I did pick the easiest jobs first because I did find it overwhelming. I just didn't know where to start. So I picked the stuff that was sitting on my desk and went, let's clean that up, work out a way of doing that. And also I got rid of stuff that had been sitting in my craft room for a while that I didn't need. Now, because I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I try and use current product. So one of the things that you will see is I clean out my craft room every 3 months or at the start of every new catalogue. But I'd struggled this year to find the time. So I was a couple of catalogues behind. But if you're a crafter, not a demonstrator, you don't have to stick to current products. Even if you're a demonstrator, you can keep as many of your retired products as you like. There's no pressure on us. We can use it, we can play with it, we can showcase it, but I choose not to, because what I find is when someone sees me, this is on my desk, make a card with a product, they want to be able to buy that or purchase that product, and they don't want me to say, oh, you can't get it anymore. So that's why I stick to current products. What else? I've got a few little notes down here so I don't forget. Now, one of the things I decided to do was work out probably 5 rules. I'm not going to call them rules, but 5 rules to give me some structure for how I was going to do this process. My craft room is not big and it has some limitations. I think most craft rooms have some limitations. I have 1, 2, kind of 4 walls, as you'd expect. A couple of them are on an angle. 3 of them are windows and large double windows. And I mean large double windows, plus a door and, with an angle. So there wasn't a lot of wall space. The other thing is I wanted to use the furniture that I had, didn't want to outlay any more money. So my craft room isn't one of those craft rooms where everything matches. I've got to say it now works, but it doesn't all match. So my furniture is, some of it was secondhand, some of it's really, really old. But I have to say, I did get rid of one piece because Stampin' Up are changing their packaging for stamps and dies. And I had nowhere for them to go. So I decided to use this as the reason for actually making some more changes to make it really easy for that transition to the new packaging. Now, so the first thing I did was I kept saying to myself, remember, I was very overwhelmed, was treat this like the saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what I did, is I just started on one job and kept working through that one job until I finished. Now, every now and then you'd be sidetracked because to put something away, you had to make a space somewhere. So I found that worked for me. It took a little bit of pressure off. I wasn't trying to do the entire craft room. I was just trying to do one part of it, or one purpose of that craft room. So now I also did lots of labeling because I hate it when I clean out a craft room. Done this before. When I clean out a craft room and then I can't find where I put something. So I tried to label as much as I possibly could. So let's turn you over. I'm going to put you on my phone. Hopefully this works. And I'll give you a quick walkthrough of my craft room, of where everything went, why I made decisions like I did. Is there more that I could do here? Yes, there is. But there were some things that really, really made a difference. And what I discovered is that I sit at a really large table, and you'll see that, is that I had things on the other side of that table that I used all the time. And then the things really close to me were stuff that I never used. So I reorganized it to make it easy for me. Are you ready? Let me know. I know. So hopefully you can now see. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see if I can see how we go with this. Idea. So I'm going to give you a quick look around my craft room so you get a bit of a feeling for how it works. I'll step back, show you my amazing table, which has traveled with me through many craft rooms. Probably I've had it over 20 years. So it's got some storage underneath, but this is also the table that I use for my lives. So that's where my computer sits, and you can see the computer live there. Then if I turn to my left, that's the entrance. Wait a minute, I'll just see if I can. No, I can't. So I've got a little storage of little embellishments there. I've got my bags. I've got a whiteboard, which is always full of stuff. Now I do have a cupboard here, which I have used. I mean, I'm coming back to give you plenty of room. I think, can I turn that? I don't know. Does that work? I don't think it does. Well, just keep it at that. So I've got a cupboard here with sliding doors. Now it's a deep cupboard. So I store my good cardstock in here, as you will see, and some ribbon. And up the top there is the stuff I don't use very much. Now, that wasn't how it was before. I had stuff up there that I used all the time, and I was having trouble finding it. And I didn't have everything where I needed it to be, and I didn't have everything labelled. Now, down here is my current Stampin' Up cardstock in the colour families. And I've also got window sheets over here, gold foil and watercolour paper, which I use, and thick cardstock, which I use all the time. And you can see a Stampin' Up scrapbooking album there. Down below that, in these little crates, I have all my scraps. So I do keep my scraps. Then underneath that, I put all those things that I had no idea what to do with. So they were things I needed to keep, like a laptop stand, spare lights, spare stands for Facebook Lives. This is my spare cardstock. Some spare storage up there that I didn't end up needing. This is some 12 by 12 Stampin' Up cardstock for scrapbooking. Obviously, I need to get started on scrapbooking again. I've taken a little slower. Now, on the right are all my cards. There's about 500 completed cards in that box there. Rightio, so over here, I've got some rolling storage. Now, the rolling storage I've found since I've cleaned out my desk is fabulous. Because I can shift it, I can vacuum clean underneath the floors. Now, I have to say there wasn't a lot of washing floors before, but once I've taken everything up off the floor, made it a lot cleaner lines, but easier to also wash. Now, let's go up. One of the really important things I think for a craft room is it's your sanctuary, a space that inspires you. And that when you walk in, you go, love this. It's like home. And so I put some of my framed art up, and I'm not sure whether you're going to get to see this, but you can see I've got some daisies up there. Now, that was sent to me by Christine, who, if you follow me, you'll know I work with her. She works and lives in the States, and we craft together online, and we try and visit each other regularly. Now I've got, we talk about inspiration. So that's I love this sign. Just always makes me feel very happy. Now I'm coming down here. I've jumped a little bit, but don't worry. This is my Stampin' Up storage. So it's using Stampin' Up storage, and you can see it fits the Stampin' Up product. So I've got re-inkers, I've got stamp pads, I've got our Stampin' Right markers that are retiring. I've also got the blends. You can see I've got some nice little containers here for those things that just don't sit anywhere, and I've kept it a little uniform. So I've added a bit of pop of colour, but I've kept them relatively uniform as best as I could. And then more ink pads and a few little bits and pieces. Now I've used to store here our half cases. Now I don't think you can get those anymore. I wish you could, because I love them. These are my watercolor pencils and all those spare pencils. Some admin stuff that I need. And I'll come back here. I don't want to get you dizzy. On this trolley, I've got all my designer series paper. Now, for me, I've kept them in categories, because when I do a Facebook Live, you're going to want to know whether they're an online exclusive, an annual catalogue, a mini catalogue, or whether they've retired. So you can see that I've labelled them there. Now, behind them, I also have my 6x6 paper. Now, I used to find, I'm going to bring this out, I used to find that my 6x6 paper used to get really messy, and I used to have little pieces of it everywhere. I found it really hard to store, but now I put them in these handmade paper holders. I've made all of these. There's instructions on my YouTube channel that shows you how to make a paper holder, DSP holder. They are so simple, and what you're using is the cardboard, or I don't know in the States what you call it, but anyway, the cardboard that comes with your designer series paper. And then I just stick on the description on the back that actually comes with a 6x6 paper. So that makes my job so much easier. And I can see how much paper I've got and whether I need to order any more. Down the bottom there are my favourite stamp sets that have retired, but every now and then I resort to, because especially for Christmas, because I've kept my favourite ones. Now, some of you may not know that Stampin' Up is doing new packaging. This is my template for new packaging. It's 9 by 5.5 inches. So my new storage, whatever I did in this clean out, had to be at least be able to fit this in. And you can see I've got a space here. Now, whether this ends up being my final space, I'm not really sure. But I've got my embossing folders here. You can see I always label them with the name, so I know. I've got retired embellishments here. I've got current embellishments over there. I've got some old washi tape and some twine in there. So I'm just going to go back and check whether anyone's asked for any comments. Rightio. So we've got hi Sharon, hi Susan. What else have we got? Rightio. So now I'm going to come back to my desk because we talk about function. Wait a minute, let's get this straight. Otherwise you'll think I'm a bit wonky. This is where I do my lives. So you can now picture how I do my lives. So I've got the lights, one at the front, one at the back. I've got this work area here, got the computer, and I will have a phone attached here. So you can now picture what I'm doing when you watch a live. Now, I keep all my craft goodies, the ones that I use all the time. You can see multiple rulers because I use them a lot. These are my adhesives and my scissors in this little container here. In here, I've got my bone folders. I've got, you hear me talk about it, my pokey tool or take a pick tool. I've got pencils. I've got pens. I've got rulers. I've got seal. I've got some spare adhesives. I've got, what have I got here? I've got die cut. Oh, I don't know what we call that. Anyway, one of those that takes out all the little bits and pieces when you've been die cutting. What else? So over the back, I've got the current ribbon, or the ribbon I use all the time. And behind that, I have some twine. Rightio. Now, I'm going to keep going around. Now, over here, I have my two-tone cardstock, which is what Stampin' Up has only recently introduced. Underneath that, I've got all my kits. Well, some of my kits. Now, I left this happen so that I could just talk you through it. You can see sums on this. This is really bad for crafting products. So I have a blind here. Do not let light on your crafting products, otherwise they'll fade. So what I do is I just slide that down, take the sun off. I slide this over to push it in. And so now there's no sun down there, as you can see. Now, I've got a few containers over here. I've got all my stamp sets, which I store in alphabetical order. Once they go into the new packaging, I will probably store them in themes. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to have a play and see what works for me. And these I've got our ephemera packs, which you see me use them all the time. What else have I got over here? Very little. I don't think there's too much exciting over here. So I store my big shots on a rolling tray. Not my big shots, my cut and emboss. So I've got a mini machine and also a full size. Underneath that, in the white tubs, I've got some little, not that one. I've got my little punches because I always use those. And underneath that again, I've got, all those ancillary stuff that you don't really know where it sits. My heat guns are back here. And then under here, actually, these are supposed to be over here. Got a little lost. I must have been wiping stuff down. Underneath that are all my things that I use for Facebook Lives, all my live sessions. So over here, now this is one of those gems that I picked up secondhand. This is fabulous. It's quite big. Has all these little drawers. So they're my old stamp sets, stamp pads. Got a lot of those. I use them for classes. Oh, I've got retired punches there. I've got my grid paper. Got some spare clear blocks. And what I've done, which I hadn't done before, this bench was totally full of crap. I've cleaned it up. So I now have a little workspace. Now, when I take my photos, I use my light box. I think I can turn it on. Comes with a really good light. Don't normally have that. So I'll take my photos there, then I'll post them on Facebook or on my blog. Underneath here, I have really a few of the leftovers, but stuff I wanted to keep. I may not use that often, hence why it's on the opposite side of the room. Now, over here, I've had this storage forever. So I tried up the top of these cupboards to clean them up to keep a really nice clean line. I couldn't do it. I did the best I could. You can see everything's labeled so I can find it. Now over here, other than the basic white, the white, black, and very vanilla cardstock, most of this is stuff that I do use, but not all the time. I've got these great magnetic sheets that I use for some of my dies, particularly the alphabet dies, because they all won't fit on a smaller sheet. All right, you can just see I've kept in here some consistency with my storage. So these are really useful, really useful boxes. They're heavy duty, they don't break. If you drop them, they've got a pretty good chance of surviving. So I like them. I like the consistency. You can see I've got some spare tubs here, hopefully, that I can keep spare. But as I said, labeling everything. So I've got a Calyx, full-size Calyx unit over here. Wait a sec, I'm going to step back. And I've kept some consistency with this. You can probably see. So I've got boxes down the bottom. Here I got some, these are new. I got some boxes from Bunnings. They're 2-story and they fit a Calyx unit and gave me a little bit more storage. You can see I've got punches and I've got, some of my admin forms. Everything's labeled, my old catalogues. Up the top here, I've got the stuff that I wish I could get rid of, but I can't. I've got a couple of around the room that you may or may not have seen, some samples of cards that I want to do or I've still got to work on. I'm going to spin past what you've just seen there. Now, over here, I spoke about my dream sign, but I like in my craft room some little cutie stuff that just makes me feel good. Pretty sure this will turn on. Look at my little tortoise. Turtle, tortoise, whatever. How cute is that? And sometimes I turn him on. And I've got over here, because my team of demonstrators is called the Crafty Paper Bees. One of them gave me a bee. Also up there, I've got my sign. I'm hoping you can see that. Beware, busy bees at work. And then I decorated the sign. So they're the things that make me happy in my craft room. But over here, this is what I added to help me out because I was really struggling trying to put this together. So this is wait a minute, I'll just check if there's any comments because I'm away from my desk. Wait a minute. Hi, Chrissy. So this is my Calyx unit. Now, because it's in front of a window, now this over here is in front of a window as well. So I leave the blind down. For over here, I still wanted the light to come in because all my windows, are tinted. So it's quite a dark room despite it having all these windows. Now, the Calyx unit is 3x4, so it lets a lot more light in up the top. But also sun comes in this And Kallax units don't have a back on them. So I did a girl fix. I added some core flute at the back. I don't know whether you know what core flute is, but it's some plastic sheeting that will keep the sun off it. And all I did was tack it on. Even I could do that. So I've got here, these are the things I use all the time because it's right behind my desk. So I've got my acrylic blocks. I've got my dies in alphabetical order, all labelled. I've got more of my admin stuff. Got my catalogues down there. Now I've got some storage here that I'm not using yet. So I've got a little bit of room to expand or change my options on storage. I've got my whisper white, well, my basic white scraps. And you can see I have a lot of them. This is a big box. Every now and then I go through and just chuck it. Now under that, I've got scraps to donate in this little box here. So I've been put in touch with a kindergarten. So every time, let's just have a look here. I've only just started this. Anything that I had to throw out. So I've got some die cuts that I won't use, some cardstock that I won't use. And they said they really look forward to any of that. Now, I got this little container. This was kind of a gift to me to clean out my craft room. I got this from TK Maxx. Um, it's quite large. The drawers are great. I just use whiteboard marker on here, so it's really easy to clean. And I've got some of those things that I don't want to lose, but maybe I don't use all the time. But so some of every time I have die cuts left over from a project, it will sit there. Now, what I discovered, actually at Craft Online, so it's not a Stampin' Up product, is a Spellbinders center line measuring tape. You know, when you want the center of your page, this tape actually gives it. Now I have a ruler that does the same, but the tape on the desk, once I lay it down, I haven't done that yet, will work really well. Now, I've then just got some of the stuff, my cello bags, envelopes, just the stuff that I use here. And I probably need to clean this out a little bit more. And I've got a little trolley here, another trolley, where I just put a whole lot of my notebooks, the stamping scrub, and some hand cleaner. So that's my craft room. It's got a TV in it. It's got air conditioning because it's on the western side, and Queensland gets fairly hot, hopefully. Now I'm going to throw you back to me. Let's see how we go. Hi. Now, that's my craft room. It's not a big room. Oh, there was one other thing I didn't show you, and I will show you this. I'll pick it up. I have this box. It's a heavy duty box. It doesn't let any light in. And in there I have, I'll show you, all my pre-cut cardstock, which saves me when I'm in a rush to do a cutout. Now, this is a really good strategy. It's a Stampin' Up box from years ago, but get a heavy duty box, make it look pretty. I don't really can see the top of it, and pre-cut your cardstock. It saves you so much time. Decide what your standard card bases are, and I always keep to that, even though I may have to recut special sizes. Most of the time I use 5.5 by 8.25. Now let's just see if I've covered everything. I've spoken about labeling. I've spoken that I want my craft room to make me feel comfortable. I want to come in here. I needed it clean, and I had to get rid of the clutter because I've got to be honest. Every time I thought about walking into my craft room, I was unsure where I was going to find stuff, how I was going to make room to actually craft. Now, I shifted everything around. Things on that side of the room came over into the smaller calyx unit because it's right behind me. And when I picked up everything off the floor, I actually have room to walk around my craft room without tripping. What else do I have here? Now, and you may not have picked this up, but I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked with my camera. I've actually kind of designed stuff so there are areas for preparation, there's areas for my stamps, for my machines. There's also areas on this side for all my admin stuff, for my postage, for catalogs, for some storage of things that I need to keep. All my punches are over here. All that stuff that I use a lot of it for my business is all over here. And then behind me is the stuff that I use kind of every day. And I've probably got to fiddle with that when the new packaging comes in, but I've got plenty of room over there, so that's okay. Now, so I've got my zones. So, I mean, what I tried to do at the start was define what I was going to do in this room. And obviously I'm crafting. And it's not necessarily always card making. It can be scrapbooking. It can be 3D items. Could be that I take up a new interest. And this is the room for me as well. It's got fabulous lighting. It's got lighting in the roof. It's got I think this is going to work. Wait a minute, wrong one. I've got fluoro lighting, plus I've got these great lighting that I use, especially overnight, for my lives. So I've defined the purpose of my space. I've made the storage work for me, whereas before I have to say it was working against me. I've created my different zones around the room to make it so easy for me. I've made it so I like coming into this room. It's inspirational. I walk in and I think, this is a fun room. This is going to be a fun time. I have to say, when it had crap everywhere, didn't look like that. I will be posting on Facebook what it used to look like. Don't get an idea that it was really bad, but it had lots of stuff that didn't have a home. Then the last thing, which is I think the most important thing, is maintaining the space. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean maintaining it exactly as it is. As I said, I'll have to do some changes in some of my places when the new packaging comes. As things change, I might get more of something, less of something. I might decide don't need something anymore, so make some space, but keeping the room tidy. So I now have a rule that after every live, my desk gets completely cleaned. Now, I've got now 3/4 of my desk that I can work on. Whereas before, to be honest, I had about 2 feet. So this is going to make it a lot easier. So I promise that I will return everything to its home when I finish crafting. And I'm going to stick to that. I'm a little OCD, so hence why all the labeling's everywhere. But I'm going to keep to that. But I can do that because it's really simple, because everything has a home and I can just drop it in because I've made it so simple for me. So do you have any tips for me as to what you might do a little different, or what's your best tip for your craft room that works for you? Because I think I've still probably got a few things that I can do to make it even better. So leave a comment, let me know. And if you like this video, and you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel or to Facebook, please do so that you don't miss out. I do lots and lots of lives. This is my last live. This was last week. Oh no, last Friday. So it's a fancy fold card. I love this. So you can see it's definitely a 3D. So I have lots coming up. And just in case, for the month of October, we have a special on kits up to 30% off. That is live today. So don't forget that. And probably the best thing at the moment is if you wanted to be a Stampin' Up demonstrator, you could actually join for $60 at the moment rather than $169, and you will get $235. I know this is backwards. I can't reverse it. You will get $235 worth of products of your choice. $60 and you get $235 of your products and free shipping and so much more in your pack. Now, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to get in contact with me. Got a team of demonstrators around Australia at the moment. Would love to include you. And there's a second option, because Stampin' Up have made it so it suits everyone. This one is for $169. This time you get $344 worth of products. So this is a good option if you want tons and tons of product. But if you'd like to become a demonstrator for a great price, and this is even Stampin' Up is saying the best offer they've made to have to invite you to become a demonstrator, to get a starter kit. Now, it comes with no obligations. And if you've, as I said, got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. For the month of October 2025. I say that because I know every time I do a craft room video, everyone keeps looking at it for years afterwards. So it's just for the month of October, both those offers. So thank you, everybody who's joined me today. Leave some comments. Let me know how things work for you in your craft room, or whether you're lucky enough, like I am, to have a room. May not be as good as my room in my previous house. Well, I had so many rooms in my other house, but this one works for me, and it keep things under control, and that's what I've had to do this time. So bye for now, everybody. I'm so glad you joined me, and I will see you this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. for my next live, where I'm going to share a project or two with you. Bye for now.